Hello and welcome live from New Delhi. You're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Coming up in the next hour, India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar holds bilateral meeting with visiting Saudi counterpart in Delhi. EAM says Saudi's Vision 2030 and Viksit Bharat 2047 hold complementarities for industries to build new partnerships. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi lays foundation stone of AIMS Darbhanga in eastern state of Bihar, launches multiple developmental projects worth around $1.5 billion. US President-elect Donald Trump picks Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy to lead newly formed Department of Government Efficiency. TV host Pete Hegseth to be Secretary of Defense. And in the latest warning from COP29 summit in Baku, global CO2 emissions set to hit record high in 2024. All right, news in detail. Saudi Arabia's Foreign Minister Prince Faisal bin Farhan Al Saud and External Affairs Minister Dr. Jaishankar held a bilateral meeting in New Delhi on Wednesday. Both leaders co-chaired the second meeting of the Political, Security, Social and Cultural Committee of the India-Saudi Arabia Strategic Partnership Council in the Hyderabad House. The two leaders discussed the India-Saudi Arabia Strategic Partnership. In his opening remarks, Dr. Jaishankar said the country's partnership is premised on progress and focused on the future and India.
Our cooperation has now expanded to defense industry and exports as well. Our security cooperation has also grown steadily. We are collaborating in counter-terrorism, combating extremism, terrorism financing and drug trafficking. Saudi's Vision 2030 and Viksit Bharat 2047 hold complementarities for our industries to build new partnerships. Trade and investments are important pillars of our partnership, and we are strengthening them in new areas, including technology, energy, renewable energy, connectivity, health and education. We welcome efforts to promote culture, tourism and youth exchanges.
And Prince Faisal bin Farhan Al Saud said the relations between the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and India are built on a long-standing foundation of cooperation and mutual respect.
Relations between the Kingdom and India are built on a long-standing foundation of cooperation and mutual respect. Our shared history, marked by centuries of trade and cultural exchange, has laid a strong foundation for the robust and solid partnership we have today. We recognize the importance of sustained coordinated efforts across all areas of cooperation. On regional and international affairs, we believe our coordination is essential. We will continue to align our positions on issues of shared concern, especially as they pertain to international peace, security and economic development. We are confident that advancing cooperation serves our mutual interests as well as benefits the region more broadly.
All right, to talk more on this, DD India's Jessica Taneja joins us live from New Delhi. Hi, Jessica. What do we know of the meeting between Saudi Arabia's Foreign Minister and Dr. S. Jaishankar? Fill us in with more details.
Well, it was on the Strategic Partnership Council that was established between the two countries during Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to Saudi Arabia in 2019. And that has been an important pillar of trade talks and also enhancing ties between the two countries when it comes to looking at more economic opportunities and cooperation between the two. Now, Saudi Arabia is an important strategic partner, as also pointed out earlier by the two counterparts, on how it has steadily grown over the years. Not only is Saudi Arabia an important partner for India when it comes to crude oil, but the diversification of trade over the years has also made both the players equally important when it comes to bilateral trade. And if you look at the export basket that India currently has, roughly around 11.9 or 11.5, billion worth of goods were exported to Saudi Arabia in the last financial year of 2022-23. So that is a significant rise from the years that you saw, which was earlier recorded at $6 billion. So export has certainly increased, but the main import remains to be, of course, crude oil, but enhancing partnerships beyond cooperation on just energy sector has also been discussed, as you heard Dr. S. Jaishankar talk about defense cooperation and also security cooperation, combating extremism and taking initiatives to, of course, eradicate or eliminate terrorism, and, of course, shared interests when it comes to acquiring global peace. So both the leaders today, the counterparts that met, Foreign Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar with his Saudi counterpart, had significant talks that led to significant outcomes, as will be the case when it comes to Saudi Arabia. Moving on, it's in fact one of the important countries in the Gulf, apart from, of course, our relationship with the United Arab Emirates. From, if you look at the Gulf Cooperation Council, the GCC, Saudi Arabia holds quite a lot of power within that group. So, of course, Saudi Arabia remains to be an important partner, and these meetings also signify the fact that there is a lot of stock taking and looking at how new initiatives can be explored between the two.
All right, Jessica, we'll leave it at that. Thank you for your inputs. Moving on, US President-elect Donald Trump's cabinet is slowly taking shape as the named billionaire Elon Musk and former Republican presidential candidate Vivek Ramaswamy to co-lead a newly created Department of Government Efficiency, which is Doge. Trump indicated this department is aimed at creating a more efficient government and will operate outside the confines of the government. In a statement, Trump announced that the new department would work with the White House and Office of Management and Budget to drive large-scale structural reform and create an entrepreneurial approach to government never seen before. The work would conclude by July 4th, 2026, the 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence. The Trump likened the efficiency effort to the Manhattan Project, the U.S. undertaking to build the atomic bomb that helped end World War II, while Musk promised transparency. And Donald Trump has named more of his incoming team on Tuesday, including seasoned figures and hardliners. His administration is taking shape one name at a time. Donald Trump announced his former Director of National Intelligence, John Ratcliffe, to lead the Central Intelligence Agency. Ratcliffe, a close ally of Trump, served as Director of National Intelligence at the end of his first term. Ratcliffe was confirmed as the nation's top spy in May 2020, 8 months before Trump left office. While Trump has also said he will nominate Fox News channel host Pete Hegseth to be Secretary of Defense. Hegseth is an Army National Guard veteran and, according to his website, served in Afghanistan, Iraq and Guantanamo Bay, Cuba. Trump also announced Mike Huckabee as U.S. ambassador to Israel under his incoming administration, putting a stalwart supporter of that country's government in a key role. And U.S. President-elect Donald Trump is visiting Washington, D.C. on Wednesday, just a week after winning the 2024 election. Trump will head to the White House for a meeting with President Joe Biden after years of bitter political sparring on the campaign trail. U.S. President Joe Biden will go through the top priorities for U.S. domestic and foreign policy with President-elect Donald Trump when the two meet at the White House on Wednesday, U.S. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan said on Sunday. In an interview on CBS's Face the Nation show, Sullivan said Biden's top message will be his commitment to ensure a peaceful transfer of power, and he will also talk to Trump about what's happening in Europe, in Asia and the Middle East. And the judge overseeing U.S. President-elect Donald Trump's criminal hush money case has put off ruling on whether his conviction should be thrown out on immunity grounds, enabling prosecutors to weigh next steps following his election victory. Justice Juan Merchan was due to rule on Tuesday on Trump's argument that the U.S. Supreme Court's decision in July that presidents are immune from prosecution involving their official acts meant the New York State case should be dismissed. Instead, Merchant granted a request by Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg's office to have until November 19 to consider how to approach the case in light of Trump's looming inauguration in January 2025. Email correspondence made public on Tuesday showed Trump's scheduled November 26 sentencing is now widely expected to be postponed. Meanwhile, Trump's presidential rival and U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris returned to the White House on Tuesday after running a 107-day hectic campaign that raised more than $1 billion after President Biden stepped aside July 21st due to concern about his mental acuity. She thanked them all. Amid thunderous cheer and crowd lined on the sides of the road, hundreds of White House staffers greeted Vice President Kamala Harris with chants of MVP on Tuesday as she returned to the executive complex for the first time since losing last week's presidential election to Donald Trump. The widely known acronym for Most Valuable Player was apparently repurposed by Democratic loyalists to pay tribute to the 60-year-old's honorary title as Madam Vice President. And Indonesia's President Prabowo Subianto met with US President Joe Biden at the White House and offered his congratulations to President-elect Donald Trump by phone during an official visit to Washington. Prabowo arrived in Washington straight from China, where he had met with President Xi Jinping on his first overseas trip since taking office last month. President Prabowo also spoke to US President-elect Donald Trump by phone, offering personal congratulations and expressing willingness to meet him in person. Trump, in response, praised Prabowo's leadership and American training. At the White House, Biden and Prabowo, two leaders, discussed climate, conflict in the Middle East and the South China Sea.
The United States for us is a great friend. The United States supported us in our struggle for independence and helped us many times in our time of need. Therefore, I will work very hard to strengthen Indonesian-United States relationship, and I would like to work towards this end, that we have a strong cooperation. Once again, President Biden, thank you very much for visiting.
And the United States on Tuesday banned all civilian flights to Haiti for a month, a day after three jetliners departing from its capital Port-au-Prince were hit by gunfire. The U.S. Federal Aviation Administration's move came after a Spirit Airlines jetliner arriving from Florida in Port-au-Prince was hit by gunfire and had to reroute to the Dominican Republic. A flight attendant suffered minor injuries, and images posted online appeared to show several bullet holes inside the plane. Two planes that left the Haitian capital Monday were also hit. Prime Minister Alex Didier-Fils-Aimé was sworn in Monday, replacing outgoing Premier Gary Conille, who was appointed in May. The United States on Tuesday called on Haiti's leaders to put personal interests aside and concentrate on getting the country back on its feet. Moving on, in some other news from Iran, UN atomic watchdog chief Rafael Grossi arrives in Tehran for crunch talks over its nuclear program on Wednesday. The International Atomic Energy Agency head has for months sought progress with Iran on issues including a push for more monitoring cooperation at nuclear sites and an explanation of uranium traces found at undeclared sites. Iran has stepped up nuclear activity since 2019 after Trump, during his first term, abandoned a 2015 deal Iran had reached with world powers under which it curbed enrichment and restored tough U.S. sanctions on the Islamic Republic. Iran's work on enrichment has been seen by the West as a disguised effort to develop nuclear weapons capability. And the United States has said that Israel was not violating U.S. law in allowing assistance into Gaza, but has called for further progress. The remarks came a month after Washington warned Israel of potential halt to military support. In a letter, the Biden government had voiced concerns over the humanitarian situation in Gaza, setting a deadline of November 13th to comply with U.S. law on permitting humanitarian assistance.
We are constantly assessing and evaluating, and if we do not see consistent progress, if we do not see the results on the ground, then we will, of course, make appropriate assessments about their compliance with international law and compliance with U.S. law, and that'll continue to be the case. The overall humanitarian situation in Gaza continues to remain unsatisfactory, but in the context of the letter, it's not about whether we find something satisfactory or not. It's that what are the actions that we're seeing? These actions that we have seen, we think that these are steps in the right direction. We want to see more steps. We want to see these steps sustained over a significant period of time.
And in another development, Israel has claimed to dismantle Hezbollah's weapons and missile facilities, which it said were located under Beirut's southern suburbs of Dahiyeh. Israeli army published a video showing aerial footage of strikes on various buildings. The military said it operates according to precise intelligence. This followed an Israeli military warning to locals to evacuate the area ahead of an airstrike against Hezbollah assets. Recently, Israel has intensified airstrikes on Lebanon's south and on Beirut, while Hezbollah has ramped up daily rocket and drone attacks against Israel. And in a video message to Iranians, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said that Iranian Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei's government feared its own citizens more than Israel, urging them to imagine a free future.
The world has seen but a fraction of our power. Yet there is one thing Khamenei's regime fears more than Israel. You know what it is? It's you, the people of Iran. That's why they spend so much time and money trying to crush your hopes and curb your dreams. Well, I say to you this, don't let your dreams die. I hear your whispers. Women, life, freedom, Zan, Zandagi, Azadi. Don't lose hope. And know that Israel and others in the free world stand with you.
And the United States has carried out strikes against Iranian-aligned targets in Syria. In a statement, the military said that the strikes were in response to recent attack on U.S. personnel at patrol base Shadadi. There was, however, no damage to U.S. facilities and no injuries to U.S. or partner forces during the attack. The U.S. said these strikes will degrade Iranian-backed groups' ability to plan and launch future attacks on the country. Time now for a very short break, but still to come on DD India News Hour. U.S. aircraft carrier joins military drills with South Korea and Japan. India reiterates stand on terrorism, highlights its peacekeeping achievements at United Nations. And Sri Lanka preps up for parliamentary elections on Thursday.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked. We just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries, and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Some more stories. In a major political shake-up, Germany is set to hold snap elections on February 23rd after the collapse of Chancellor Olaf Scholz's three-party coalition last week. The country's two biggest parties agreed on the early timetable, which will see centre-left leader Scholz seek a vote of confidence on December 16. The election date represents a compromise between the conservative opposition, which pushed for a January vote to avoid leaving Germany without clear leadership. Scholz is expected to lose the vote of confidence, after which President Frank-Walter Steinmeier will have 21 days to dissolve the Bundestag, or lower house of parliament. Elections would have to be held within the next 60 days. German President Frank-Walter has approved the timeline for early elections agreed by Germany's main parties, saying the plan to hold the vote is realistic. The head of state urged all mainstream parties to cooperate responsibly in fact until then. In Dakar, activists from Senegal's ruling Pastef party rallied ahead of Sunday's legislative elections. Prime Minister Ousmane Sonko urged peace despite having previously called for retribution after opposition attacks on Pastef supporters. Fellow supporter Mohamed Diom demanded justice, reflecting widespread frustration. This election comes after President Bassirou Diomaye Faye dissolved the opposition-led parliament in September, with the Pastef party now aiming to secure a majority. Their platform focuses on social justice, economic reform and anti-corruption efforts. These elections could shift the political landscape in Senegal as voters weigh in on these pivotal promises. A US top diplomat Antony Blinken will meet with NATO and EU officials Wednesday to urgently discuss ramping up support for Ukraine before Donald Trump reclaims the White House. The Secretary of State's one-day visit will see him meet NATO chief Mark Rutte, European Union diplomacy boss Josep Borrell, his successor Kaja Kallas, and Ukraine's Foreign Minister Andrei Sybiga. Trump has in the past voiced admiration for Russian President Vladimir Putin and scoffed at the $175 billion the United States committed for Ukraine since the start of the war in 2022. The Biden administration has made clear it plans its remaining weeks to push through the more than $9 billion of remaining funding appropriated by Congress for weapons and other security assistance to Ukraine. Now, in the latest warning from COP29 summit in Baku, global CO2 emissions are set to hit record high in 2024. This will include emissions from burning fossil fuels other than industrial activities from low-tech devices. The Global Carbon Budget Report, published during the UN's COP29 climate summit in Azerbaijan, said global CO2 emissions are set to total 41.6 billion metric tons in 2024, up from 40.6 billion tons last year. The bulk of these emissions are from burning coal, oil and gas. Those emissions would total 27.4 billion tons in 2024, up by 0.8% in 2023, the report said. The rest are from land use, a category that includes deforestation and forest fires. The report by more than 80 institutions was led by the University of Exeter in Britain. Such emissions increase will pull the world further off course from averting more destructive climate extremes, scientists said on Wednesday. Now, speaking at the COP29 climate summit, Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni called on Wednesday for a balanced energy mix that will include gas, biofuel and other resources during the transition to cleaner energy. She added that such efforts need to take into account reality, protecting nature with man at its core.
Global GDP will double in the next decade. This will boost energy consumption, also considering the increasing demand for artificial intelligence development. We need a balanced energy mix to enhance the transition process. We must use all available technologies, not only renewables, but also gas, biofuels, hydrogen, CO2 capture, and in future, nuclear fusion.
Several international airlines cancelled their flights to and from Indonesia's resort island of Bali on Wednesday after Mount Levotobi in eastern Indonesia erupted again. It led to catapulting a tower of ash miles into the sky and forcing residents to evacuate to nearby shelters. The first eruption of the volcano on November 3rd killed at least 9 people. It has since erupted multiple times. The ash column has reached as high as 10 kilometers, and the authorities said sandfall has covered the surrounding areas. 80 flights in Bali were cancelled from November 4th to 12th November. Now, flood-hit areas near the eastern city of Valencia were rushing on Tuesday to clear drainage systems while they prepare for another potential powerful storm. The National Weather Service issued an orange alert for strong or torrential rains 2 weeks after the worst floods in Spain that killed over 200 people. Valencia's emergency committee issued a special warning to municipalities and organizations requesting them to adopt preventive measures, including closing schools. The committee also recommended people to work remotely and avoid non-essential travel and follow emergency service updates. The weather alert includes much of the Mediterranean coast of Catalonia, Valencia and Andalusia and Balearic Islands. Fire crews in the United States are working to contain large blazes in the northeastern states of New York and New Jersey, where heavy smoke-filled air has prompted health warnings in several areas. The Jennings Creek wildfire has already torched some 2,023 hectares across the two states, killed a New York Parks employee and threatened dozens of structures. Officials said containment efforts are evenly divided between New York and New Jersey, noting that overnight rainfall provided a much-needed break for firefighting crews. Meanwhile, in California, gusty winds threaten to intensify a major wildfire, adding to the challenges for firefighters. A major eruption took place at the Cacajol mud volcano, also known as El Abarido, in Colombia on Monday, producing a very large fireball and injuring 8 people. Drone footage showed the damage due to the eruption. The volcano has impacted several communities, with 109 families living near the volcano and along nearby roads, reporting damage to homes. As part of the immediate response, officials have begun evacuating 16 families, including 30 children, from impacted areas to schools in Montagorda and Santiago de Uraba. In Los Mangos, authorities have also temporarily relocated 35 children to a local school to ensure their safety. Now, South Korea will hold a 3-day joint exercise with the United States and Japan starting Wednesday. It will feature fighter jets and marine patrol aircraft, as well as U.S. nuclear-powered aircraft carrier USS George Washington. The Freedom Edge exercise is a response to what the South Korean military said were threats from North Korea, which recently conducted an intercontinental ballistic missile test, drawing condemnation from Seoul, Tokyo and Washington. It also comes as the U.S. State Department said North Korean troops have started engaging in combat operations in Russia's war with Ukraine. The trilateral exercise follows the first round held earlier this year, after the leaders of the 3 countries agreed at a summit in 2023 to hold annual training drills. Another drill is happening in Asia-Pacific region between Indonesia and Australia, after the allies signed a new defence agreement pledging closer cooperation to counter security threats in the Asia-Pacific region. More than 2,000 Indonesian and Australian troops took part in the 4-day exercise named Keris Wumera on Indonesia's main island Java. Includes air, land, sea and cyber exercises. The 2 countries have sought to boost security ties in the face of increased flashpoints in the region, including the South China Sea, where several states claim sovereignty over disputed islands and waterways. Australian Defence Minister Richard Marles has called these drills as the biggest exercise that Australia will do outside of the nation this year. Let's now take a look at other stories making news around the world. Jack Teixeira, a 22-year-old Massachusetts Air National Guard member, was sentenced on Tuesday to 15 years in prison for leaking highly classified military documents. Teixeira pleaded guilty to 6 counts under the Espionage Act for leaking documents on Discord, covering sensitive information about Russia's war in Ukraine and other global matters. 2 black bears caused a stir in Pasadena neighborhood on Tuesday, leading nearby schools to issue a shelter-in-place order. Aerial footage captured one bear lounging in a tree near Crescenta Valley High School before it ventured down to search through trash, while a second smaller bear was seen wandering the streets. Hollywood stars Billy Bob Thornton and Demi Moore attended the premiere of the new series Landman on Tuesday. Creating by Taylor Sheridan and based on the Boomtown podcast, the series offers a raw look at the lives of oil workers in the 2000s. Time now for another short break, but still to come on this edition of DD India News Hour. Market veteran Mark Mobius endorses Prime Minister Narendra Modi for a Nobel Peace Prize. India's Supreme Court pronounces verdict on bulldozer justice and laid down pan-India guidelines. And Delhi sees season's first fog today, 0-meter visibility in the national capital in the morning. Details after the break. Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Recap of what we have done so far. India's External Affairs Minister Dr. Jaishankar holds bilateral meeting with visiting Saudi counterpart in Delhi. EAM says Saudi's Vision 2030 and Viksit Bharat 2047 hold complementarities for industries to build new partnerships. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi lays foundation stone of AIMS Darbhanga in eastern state of Bihar, launches multiple developmental projects worth around $1.5 billion. And US President-elect Donald Trump picks Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy to lead newly formed Department of Government Efficiency. TV host Pete Hegseth to be Secretary of Defense. In neighbouring Sri Lanka, preparations for the 14th November parliamentary elections are underway as the island nation prepares to vote to elect 225 members to the parliament. President Anura Kumara Dissanayake dissolved parliament on 24 September to clear the way for the general elections, days after the Marxist-leaning leader was elected president on a platform for change. The election became necessary as Dissanayake had just 3 lawmakers in the outgoing parliament whose 5-year term was due to end in August 2025 and needed a fresh mandate to push his policies. Polling will be held on Thursday between 7 a.m. and 4 p.m. local time at over 13,400 polling stations. Counting of votes will begin at 4:15 p.m. with postal ballots first and ballot boxes after they are shifted to the counting centers. All right, let's go across to Colombo. DD India's Dr. Ahmed Moin Faruqi is joining us live. Dr. Faruqi, litmus test for Dissanayake first, and silent period is on. Take us through the preparations ahead of the polls.
Abhishek, yes, you are absolutely right. It's a litmus test for National People's Powers, the party, as well as the President Anura Kumara Dissanayake. Primarily because, you see, if you look at the presidential elections which were held in Sri Lanka in September this year, the president could not muster a complete 50% majority at that point of time, and it had the counting had to be taken to the second round, wherein the top 2 were only the candidates who were remaining, while the other candidates were excluded. This makes a case that the National People's Power may or may not probably be in a position to muster a majority in the manner that they would be expecting. However, it's being anticipated that they will do much better in terms of their performance as compared to what had been seen in parliamentary elections in 2020, where they had only secured 3 seats. Now, going from 3 seats to securing about 43% of the popular vote in the presidential elections, it shows that the National People's Power has come a long way. Now, it needs to be seen how the voters would be voting tomorrow, in which direction they would want the Sri Lankan polity to go ahead. There had been a talk of a radical change during the presidential elections when President Anura Kumara Dissanayake had talked about revamping the entire system, freeing it from corruption, and bringing about a new Sri Lanka. And this is something which had appeared to be resonating with several of the common people in Sri Lanka across the entire island. Now, for tomorrow, what has been planned is that 13,400 plus polling centers will be open to all the 17 million electorate across the island, and the voting will go on till 4 p.m. In fact, the counting of votes will commence at around 4:15 p.m. starting with the postal ballots. We should also remember that Sri Lanka had allowed 730,000 government employees to cast their votes through postal ballots earlier this month.
Okay.
And that will be the first thing that will be counted. And thereafter, around 7:30 p.m., according to the Election Commission, that will be the rough time when the ballot boxes will be, they will be shifted by that time to the counting centers,
Okay.
and the counting of the ballots will then commence.
Fair enough. Dr.
Meanwhile,
Farooqui, yeah, also tell us about the candidates. How do we see the contest and also the front runners?
Yes, Abhishek, you see, there are more than 8,800 candidates in the entire island for vouching for the 196 electoral district seats, as well as certain names which will come up for the nomination as members of parliament from the national list. National list is something which is nominated on the basis of the percentage of the votes that the parties would poll in the entire country. Now, this is one part of it. However, if you're asking me about the prominent names, first I would like to mention here that unlike what has been seen in the last few years, the Rajapaksa family is not in the race in this election.
Yes,
They have,
yes.
in fact, the entire family has decided not to contest these elections. Apart from them, the former president Ranil Wickremesinghe also is not contesting the elections this time around. Among the people who are the big names, the key contenders, we have the current Prime Minister, Dr. Harini Amarasuriya, who is contesting from Colombo. We have former opposition leader, Sajid Premadasa, who will want to come back to the position of at least in the opposition at least, or maybe to get the bigger number as far as possible. So that is another name. The Vijita Herath, he is contesting from Gampaha. He is the current public security as well as foreign affairs minister. We have also a few other names who have represented Sri Lankan parliament in the previous occasions, including Iran Vikramaratne as well as
Right.
Digambaram and various other names. So contest is going to be very intense because NPP will want to secure a majority, because a majority in the parliament would mean that they will have a smooth running of the government for
Exactly.
the next 5 years. Abhishek.
All right, Dr. Farooqui, thank you for getting us the updates from Colombo. Now, India delivered remarks on its efforts in peacekeeping and spoke of new age challenges arisen due to terrorism at the United Nations. Councillor Eldos Matthew Punuz from India delivered the statement at the general debate in the 4th Committee of the UN General Assembly on Special Political Missions.
The menace of terrorism is a major global threat that adversely affects the prospects of peace. India's position in this regard has been clear and categorical. Terrorism in all its forms and manifestations needs to be condemned.
And in an exclusive interaction with an Indian news agency, Western investor Mark Mobius has said that India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi is capable of having a dialogue with all sides of the political spectrum on a global stage and deserves a Nobel Peace Prize for his efforts. The 88-year-old Mobius said PM Modi could become a very important peacemaker as the world goes through turbulence, especially the current West Asia conflict and the ongoing Russia-Ukraine war. He also added that PM Modi is a great leader as well as a great human being, and that his role internationally will grow in importance going forward because he is able to have a dialogue with all sides of the political spectrum globally, and he could become a very important peacemaker going forward. Mark Mobius also said that India is now at the takeoff stage of development, where the young demographic with higher productivity, digitization of the economy and a robust infrastructure growth will help the country become a major global economy in the years to come. Mobius is renowned for pioneering the first emerging markets fund. According to him, when it comes to the Nobel Peace Prize, PM Modi is really capable of almost anything and deserves this global award. India has shown its ability to be neutral and to be fair to all, and the country is in a very good position to act as a mediator for peace on the global stage. And back home in India, to provide a major boost to health infrastructure in the region, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi laid the foundation stone of AIIMS Darbhanga in the eastern state of Bihar, worth more than Rs 1,260 crore on Wednesday. Prime Minister also dedicated multiple developmental projects worth around Rs 12,100 crore in Bihar. AIIMS will comprise a super specialty hospital or Ayush block, medical college, nursing college, among others. The Prime Minister also inaugurated and laid the foundation stone of multiple national highway projects worth around rupees 5,070 crore in Bihar. The Prime Minister also flagged off train services in Jhanjharpur Lokkaha Bazar section to facilitate easier access to jobs, education and healthcare facilities in nearby towns and cities. Prime Minister Modi dedicated 18 Pradhan Mantri Bharatiya Jan Aushadhi Kendras at various railway stations across India and laid the foundation stone of multiple initiatives in the petroleum and natural gas sector worth more than rupees 4,020 crores. And India's President Draupadi Murmu reached Silvassa on second day of her visit to the Union Territory of Daman and Diu and Dadra and Nagar Haveli. During her visit, the President inaugurated a school built at a cost of rupees 76 crore and spread over an area of 47,956 square meters. President also virtually unveiled Yatri Niwas under Space Phase 2, in which an indoor sports complex has been built under the flyover. Addressing the gathering, President Draupadi Murmu, who has been a teacher herself, said it was a pleasure meeting the children and teachers at the school. Voting is underway in the eastern state of Jharkhand across 43 constituencies. The 43 seats of Jharkhand recorded 46.25% voter turnout till 1 p.m. 13.7 million voters are eligible to exercise their right to vote at 15,344 polling booths. Voting began at 7 a.m. and will continue till 5 p.m. More than 200 security companies are on duty to ensure a smooth voting process. The second phase of polling will be held on 20th November, while votes will be counted on 23rd of November. Prime Minister Narendra Modi urged voters to exercise their franchise and strengthen the festival of democracy. And big news, India's Supreme Court directed that no demolition should be carried out without a prior 15-day show cause notice to the owner of the property and without following the statutory guidelines. The guidelines were issued by the bench of Justice B.R. Gawai and Justice K.V. Vishwanathan, which states that no house should be demolished without any show cause notice, which should be sent by a registered post. On behalf of Jamiat Ulema-e-Hind and others, a petition was filed in the Supreme Court demanding a ban on the ongoing bulldozer action across the country. In its interim order in September, the Supreme Court had banned these actions and said it will issue detailed guidelines in this regard. Now, a dense fog blanketed national capital Delhi and NCR for the first time this season on Wednesday, dipping visibility to zero at the Delhi airport even as calm winds prevailed across the region. The air quality index in Delhi remained in very poor category, with many residents experiencing breathing difficulties. The weather has significantly changed with respect to intensification of fog conditions in the morning, and it has been dense to very dense fog prevailing over the city. According to India's Weather Department, the city's temperature dropped to 17 degrees Celsius on Wednesday morning from 17.9 on Tuesday and may fall further as sunlight remains cut off due to fog. 8 flights were diverted at the Indira Gandhi International Airport in the national capital on Wednesday due to low visibility. All right, we'll go across to Dibyendu Mondal. He's joining us live from Delhi. Dibyendu, Delhi saw season's first fog today and 0-meter visibility was recorded in few areas. Is it going to continue for a few days?
Well, Abhishek, today was the first day perhaps when we saw dense fog engulfing the entire Delhi NCR region, perhaps giving a sense that winter is setting in the couple of days to come now. But of course, the coming days will, of course, we'll see at least for the next 3 to 4 days, such fog conditions prevailing in the early hours of the morning in the Delhi NCR region, and perhaps flight operations, as you also mentioned, could perhaps get further affected. And all the airlines have already put out their notification through tweets saying that people should look at the aircraft schedules before leaving for the airport if they have an early morning flight. But given having said this, the temperatures would likely to further dip in the coming days, as it is, of course, the middle of November, and by this time, generally, we do have winter setting in, and so is the trend even this time around. So, of course, over the next couple of days, temperatures would further drop, and fog conditions could continue to prevail in not just in the Delhi NCR region, but also across the Indo-Gangetic Plain as well as the northern plains here in India.
Devendu, you spoke about the temperature. It is comparatively cold today in Delhi. What is the reason for sudden decrease in temperature?
Well, Abhishek, this is mid-November. Generally, by this time around, the temperatures start dropping. And, of course, there have been some snowfall in the upper reaches of the Himalayan region in India as well as in Nepal and etc. So, of course, due to that, the cold winds have been blowing into the northern plains, which is why we saw the fog in the morning today as well. And as of course, as the sun moves further away from the earth, the temperatures do dip down, and that is what we expect in the coming days as well, because it's, of course, as I've been saying, it's mid-November. By next couple of days, we will see temperatures going down further from here.
All right, Devendu, we'll leave it at that. Thank you for getting us the latest from Delhi. U.S. Deputy Secretary of State Kurt Campbell will be visiting India from 13th to 14th November for the inaugural U.S.-India Ocean Dialogue to be held in the national capital. According to an official statement, Campbell would be joined by Principal Deputy National Security Advisor John Feiner and other senior Indian officials for discussions focused on security and prosperity in the Indo-Pacific region. At the dialogue, he will join Principal Deputy National Security Advisor John Feiner and senior Indian officials, like we said, to discuss measures to promote security and prosperity throughout the Indo-Pacific region. The Deputy Secretary of State will also be participating in the Critical and Emerging Technologies Inter-Session that will focus on expanding US-India cooperation in technological innovation and production. Now let's take a look at other stories making news. The 9th India-Indonesia Joint Special Forces exercise Garud Shakti concluded with a closing ceremony at Sejantung, Indonesia on November 12th. Running from November 1st, the exercise has enabled both the contingents to enhance their capabilities to conduct joint military operations in counter-terrorism environment in sub-conventional domain. India's Minister of Home Affairs Amit Shah hailed the decision to establish an all-women battalion of the Central Industrial Security Force comprising over 1,000 personnel. Taking to social media platform X, Minister said that the decision will certainly fulfill the aspirations of more women to participate in the crucial task of protecting the nation. The 16th edition of the India Game Developer Conference kickstarts in Hyderabad on Wednesday. Organized by the Game Developer Association of India, the conference will feature over 150 sessions, 250 speakers and an expo showcasing top gaming companies and startups. Time now for another short break, but still to come on this edition of DD India News Hour. India eyes strong comeback against South Africa as they are all set to play third T20I at Centurion today.
This week on Defence Dynamics, we will talk about Indian Navy's growing power as India's President Draupadi Murmu reviews naval preparedness from INS Vikrant, India's first indigenous aircraft carrier. We will tell you why India's long-range anti-ship ballistic missile will prove to be a game-changer in geopolitics of the Indian Ocean. Lastly in the show, we'll bring to you why the Russian Tu-160M bomber could play a pivotal role in strategic dominance during any conflict. Watch Defence Dynamics every Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. IST only on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Sports stories now. We'll start with cricket. India takes on South Africa in the third T20I on Wednesday at Supersport Park in Centurion, a venue where they last played in 2018 and lost. India would be looking to adapt to quick bouncy pitch similar to that in Gaharba. Key players like Abhishek Sharma, Suryakumar Yadav, Hardik Pandya and Rinku Singh need to improve after recent struggles as India's batting is yet to settle down. In the bowling department, Arshdeep Singh and Avesh Khan had mixed performances, which might lead to lineup changes, while spinners Varun Chakraborty and Ravi Bishnoi have been reliable and could benefit from favourable pitch conditions. South Africa also face batting issues, with experienced players like Aiden Markram, David Miller and Hendrik Klaassen yet to make an impact in the series. And West Indies fast bowler Alzarri Joseph is set to return for the third T20 international against England after serving a 2-match suspension, but all-rounder Andre Russell will miss the match with an ankle injury. Joseph was suspended for storming off the field after a row with captain Shea Hope during the third one-day international against England in Bridgetown. The hosts will again be without experienced all-rounder Russell, who sustained a left ankle sprain during the opening T20I in Barbados on Saturday. Russell missed the second match as well and is replaced by all-rounder Shamar Springer in this squad. All three remaining T20Is are being played in St. Lucia. An England pacer, Reece Topley, has been docked 15% of his match fee for smashing a chair in frustration after picking up an injury in the first T20I against the West Indies. The left-arm quick suffered injury on Saturday when he jarred his knee while bowling. He eventually left the field due to the injury and missed the second match. As he walked up the steps of the pavilion at the Kensington Oval in Bridgetown, Topley picked up a chair and smashed it on the staircase handrail. The governing International Cricket Council said on Wednesday that Topley had breached the Code of Conduct article related to abuse of cricket equipment or clothing, ground equipment or fixtures and fittings. And world number 1 chess player Magnus Carlsen has returned to India as the 2024 Tata Steel Chess India tournament set in Kolkata's Doordarshan Auditorium gets underway on Wednesday. World number 1 Carlsen returned to Kolkata for the event after 5 years. The tournament is set for a high-voltage start as R. Pragyananda takes on Magnus Carlsen in the first round of the rapid category. The 2024 Tata Steel Chess India tournament will showcase 2 formats, Rapid and Blitz. Both formats will have an open and women category. Schedule is 13 to 17 November 2024. Venue is Doordarshan Auditorium, Kolkata. Time control Rapid, 25 minutes for game with 10 seconds increment from move 1. Blitz, 3 minutes for game with 2 seconds increment from move 1. Now, Italian top seed Yannick Sinner moved closer to the ATP Tour's final semifinals with a 6-4, 6-4 victory over American Taylor Fritz in Turin. The world number 1 fought off a strong challenge, hitting 22 winners to Fritz 19, securing his second win in front of a supportive home crowd. Sinner, who also won the 2024 Australian Open, leads his group after claiming his 67th win of the season. Earlier, Daniil Medvedev beat Alex de Minaur 6-2, 6-4, showing a more composed performance than in his opening game lost to Fritz. In doubles, Britain's Henry Patton and Harry Heliowara advanced to the semi-finals after a second consecutive win. And every Christmas season, London's Kew Gardens transforms into a magical wonderland with Christmas at Kew. Now in its 12th year, the event invites visitors to walk a nighttime trail illuminated with beautiful light displays. Take a look. Alright, that's all for this edition of DD India News Hour, but do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. And we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Abhishek Mahajan from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour.